we have one of their national, the football team, Ottawa football team, the player, his first exhibition game, he broke his ankle. And he comes into us and he gets on the treadmills. At this point, the team didn't have an underwater treadmill.
Right.
They hadn't, they bought it afterwards, but we had it. So he came in and he was doing the karaoke, like the turns.
Yeah.
And he was blown away because no way could he have done that on land.
Right.
But now he's been able to do that and keep up his ability to keep going
Wow.
and improve faster.
Now, that is going to sound strange, or maybe it's going to sound like a silly question, but my mom says that she cannot do aquatic therapy. And here's her reason why,
Okay.
or hydrotherapy. She doesn't know how to swim.
Yeah.
Do you get that from people?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you tell the non-swimmers?
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I have some special guests back for the second time. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do, I call it the RFV. So it's rapid fire of value. So hear me out. I bring value to my audience. My audience brings value to whoever it is that you're working with. So I would like, well, first of all, Irene, Karen, welcome back to the podcast. They are from Liquid Gym, right? So can you all tell us a little bit about Liquid Gym and who it is that you all bring value to in the marketplace?
Oh, okay. Liquid Gym is a hydrotherapy clinic. Well, we opened it as a hydrotherapy clinic in 2013. And we opened it because of a hockey accident that I had. I broke my leg and I found regular physiotherapy, as I call it, land therapy, wasn't going so well. So we ended up actually in the States finding these underwater treadmills, underwater bikes, and we decided to open up an actual clinic specializing in hydrotherapy. From that point in 2013, we actually now have specialized land equipment also. So who do we service? Initially, we were looking at more of the neural-based geriatric market when we first started. However, now it's an MSK. It's a very general base. We have actually a peds specialist that works with us. So from peds right up to, actually, we just celebrated one of our patients' 100th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from peds to 100.
Yep.
Okay,
From
wow.
literally 6 months to 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So what's interesting, we have a poster that we have around our clinics, and it's very clearly says sample conditions, and it's a list of about 20 different conditions. And I had a patient say to me, "But I have plantar fasciitis and I don't see it on your list. Do you really treat that?" It is like, yep, good to know. So it's and it's what's appropriate for the person,
Right.
and it's any condition, any situation. We've got a really talented team.
Okay. Well, do you mind if I throw a bunch of questions
Let's
at
do it.
you? Okay.
Okay.
So I guess the first thing is you said hydrotherapy. So can we talk about the difference? Water therapy, aquatic or aquatherapy, hydrotherapy. Is there a difference or is it just synonymous?
Yep, no difference.
No difference.
We just
Okay.
decided, I don't know, we just decided hydrotherapy. That was what we were going to go with. That's what we coined. But people do call it hot water therapy. Insurance companies are actually very interesting in Ottawa because we didn't use the word water therapy and we had hydrotherapy. We had insurance companies and weren't paying because that's hydrotherapy. That's not what physiotherapy does. So we soon fixed that with them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So on a whole, why is hydrotherapy so effective?
okay, so if there's 4 principles, really 3 is what makes the difference in the water. So if you go in the water and you're up to here, so if we're standing, water height up to here, 90% of your body weight's eliminated. Okay, so you on land, so you weigh 100 pounds on land, you weigh now basically 10 pounds in the water. Well, that's one thing.
Right.
So if for movement, if you've lost muscle mass, all of a sudden you're not trying to move 100 pounds, you now only have to move 10 pounds.
Right. Gotcha.
The other principle is what's called the hydrostatic pressure. So people coming in and they get in the water, this pressure, oftentimes if you have an injury, you have inflammation of the joints, and that impedes the actual movement. Well, as soon as you get into water, it's like a piston in a car. You're getting in, and that knee is moving and moving and moving like this, and the fluid that's in there, because of the pressure of the water that's on that joint or that limb, is actually being forced out. I mean, in very simplistic terms. So now, when we have patients that come in and say, "Oh, my knee is, or my ankle, or my hip is so loose, it's not stiff," and it's like, well, that's just what happens when you get in the water.
Right.
The other is the actual, it's called dragon resistance. Because water is thicker than air, it actually is 12% harder to move in the water than it is on land. So it's kind of an oxymoron, because here you are, you have buoyancy, you don't weigh, so anything under here, there's no gravity.
90% less weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So you have less weight, but it's harder. So like, okay, well, how does that actually work? You don't have to have as much muscle mass to move because you're lighter, but it's actually having to move harder, but it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
So when we have the patients coming in for the first time, we have to be cautious, because what can happen, the patient comes in and they feel so free, they can move, they move too much. And then they go home and they're so stiff because they haven't been able to move.
Right.
So really, that's those three things. I mean, the fourth principle is the heat of the water. Now, our pools are very warm, but like we're at 93 degrees, so it's very warm. So that makes a big difference, because just getting in, all of a sudden that tense or that stiff or that that muscle that's been spastic can now relax. So there's a number of factors that play a factor into why patients do so well in the water.
Gotcha. So you talked about really 4 different factors.
Mhm.
What is I guess, which factor is it that it helps with pain relief in particular?
Well, buoyancy.
The buoyancy.
Because now, if you can't walk, you have somebody come to give them a walker, and they hip, so they're going for a hip replacement, and their hip is just so sore. They get in the water. Well, now gravity. So gravity is our worst enemy. We want to land. Gravity is what we don't want when somebody's had muscle atrophy,
Right.
because they don't have the muscles to move the body.
Right.
But you get them in the water, we don't need that. So definitely, it's the buoyancy is probably the biggest thing.
And the warmth also really does
Yeah.
help as well,
Yeah.
because of the temperature. So people can relax. That's the one part. They're free of gravity, and the warmth is just a nice, gentle situation. There's natural turbulence in the water too. So that gets us into the folks who have balance issues. There's folks who they have range of motion issues. One of our therapists had 15 years in, and she was amazed. She had a frozen shoulder patient, and the person could barely lift their arm from the side of their body. And in 30 minutes, the arm was floating, actually relaxed up. And she was amazed, and that's the first time she'd ever seen it. So it's almost, we've actually been told it's magic water. It's like it's a chlorine pool.
It's right. Wow. You guys said that you have all these different things that you help, right?
Yeah.
So can we just go do some of them? I'm assuming one of them is chronic conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely chronic.
And so when somebody is on the phone and they're like, I have psoriatic arthritis, I've got this, I've got that. What are you telling them on why the water is so effective for them?
What we say is, well, I'll actually, when people question, really, will it make a difference? What we say is, just come into the pool, come into the clinic, and we'll take you for a tour. You will not, like, we can have 8 or 10 people in the pool area. It's 3,000 square feet. You can have them a therapist, or maybe in the water with them or on land with them. And they will look around. Everybody's smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as they see, oh, well, you're not supposed to have fun at physiotherapy.
Right.
There's something wrong here.
Right.
And so that, if we can get them in, we get them in. I do a tour. They sign up right away.
Right. Wow.
We've been asked for a statistic recently, and it's because of the business structure itself. And it's how many phone calls do you get in a week, and how many of those do you convert and as new patients? And we're at 98% conversion,
Wow.
which is phenomenal. And it's because of what people come to us for. And that's our niche in our marketplace.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So we talked about the chronic conditions.
Right.
Do you all deal with sports injuries as well?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's kind of the gist behind that?
So let's say you've got a runner So if you've got a plyo box on land, or let's say it's a runner. Actually, one of our guys was tennis and tennis player.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No.
and so he came in and we got him in the water and he had a knee injury. We got him in the water and you're just moving, walking, and he was running on the treadmill. And then we have plyo boxes in the pool.
Right.
So he was doing explosive jumps in the pool.
Right.
And it's like he's like, I can't do this. I said, yes, you can, because his weight has been relieved. So we transitioned. So with him, he was like, wow. So he was able to, what he felt, he was able to continue with his therapy in the water and not lose traction.
Traction. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was,
That's-
an athlete, it worked out.
And just on another, when we came down to a user conference here in the States, and it was run by one of the companies, they brought in some of the top athletic trainers and the directors of athletic training from the universities. And the belief from so many of them their belief system was, if we waited for science to catch up to what we're doing, we won't have athletes on the field. And so for them, it was return to sport, be game ready faster.
Right.
And it's because it's not just the physical, it's the confidence to do what you're doing. And there's an emotional shift when we saw an LA Lakers player and what he was doing in the water, his shifting, his agility, his movement, his jump shots, and watching him and what he could do there. And they said, now let's take it out on land, and away he goes. Whoop, and they shortened up his recovery time.
Well, we have one of their national, the football team, Ottawa football team, the player, his first exhibition game, he broke his ankle. And he comes into us and he gets on the treadmills. At this point, the team didn't have an underwater treadmill.
Right.
They hadn't, they bought it afterwards, but we had it. So he came in and he was doing the cardio healing, the turns.
Yeah.
And he was blown away because no way could he have done that on land.
Right.
But now he's been able to do that and keep up his ability to keep going
Wow.
and improve faster.
Now, this is going to sound strange, or maybe it's going to sound like a silly question, but my mom says that she cannot do aquatic therapy. And here's her reason why,
Okay.
or hydrotherapy. She doesn't know how to swim.
Yeah.
Do you get that from people?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you tell the non-swimmers?
Our pool, actually, but I must say this: when we talked about our patient that was 100 years old, she was in the paper. She was a vet. She's a veteran.
Yeah.
And she turned 100. So it was a big thing in our local paper. There was a picture of her, and it's funny because she talked about, and I go to Liquid Gym and I swim, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, no, she doesn't. So anyways, so I saw her because we did a big to-do. We had a cake for her and everything when she came in. And I was talking to the therapist and I said, well, actually, Karen, we do let her swim because our pool is 40 meters. Like we have 4 pools.
Right.
And one of them, and she said, we actually do let her swim in our pool. I said, okay, normally we don't. Generally the pool, so we have the different water height. So we have a pool that's like 4 feet 4 inches. And then another pool that's 5 feet 2, another pool that's 5 feet 6. So each of them, so a different height. So as far as we do have a patient that's coming now that is scared of water, she actually had a traumatic experience, and we're working with her. And just her first time in, she just sat on the steps leading into the pool. That's as far as she got. But you don't have to know how to swim. In fact, it doesn't matter. We don't even ask that question. Do you know how to swim? It's not on the application.
And the therapists know that through the assessments and through their initial conversations. And there has been fear. And that's...
And no, the therapist goes in.
Yeah, the therapist goes in.
If they need to, they go in right with the patient.
Gotcha. Pool versus land.
Right.
Will people see results faster if they start in pool? What are you telling people?
Well, first of all, we tell them prehab. So let's say they're going for a total knee, total hip, is we actually say, this isn't, it's no, the stronger you are going in for surgery, the stronger you're going to be when you come out.
Right.
So, but if somebody has a hip that they just can't walk, we get them in for rehab because they're going to start building that muscle back up. Definitely, we see the difference. We've been around 11 years now. We actually see the difference getting them to the water. Now, the time frame from the hip or the knee or the surgery, whatever it may be, is about we're not as quick as you guys as far as getting patients back into the water. When we came down 12 years ago, the hospitals we were working at that we did the conferences with, they'd have bandages and they were like 3 days. We were like mortified. You're going to put a patient in with an excision that's open for 3 days. But that is so our protocol was 14 days. Generally now we're about 25 days.
Okay.
So once the patient they go for dry land to the point of surgery up to the 25-day, then they come in with it because they can move in the water. Their rehab is much faster.
Gotcha.
Absolutely much faster.
Okay.
And we do transition patients, and they know that it's a transition. So depending on their situation, some have stayed in the water for years, and that's their love, and it's always meeting their goals. And then the ones who are returned to work, return to sport, return to play, those ones they actually realize that if they can build so much more in the water, in muscle structure, range of motion, whatever it is, then they're transitioned to land, and they've also got the confidence. So they've got all of these things already in their body system saying, hey, it's okay. I'm stronger. I feel better. I can do this now. And gravity, the therapists are very good at also reintroducing them to gravity as
Gotcha.
well. And that's another big piece of the puzzle. So what does our world bring us? So gravity.
Right. Gravity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a constant. So let's talk about building muscle strength. Do you believe that water resistance primarily can do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's 12% harder.
Yeah.
It is harder. We actually, with athletes, with anyone, you can come in and now we have underwater treadmills and they're running and they can do this because pre-COVID, we actually had 6 underwater treadmills lined up. So we have a gym and people would rent time on the gym, on the treadmills to run. And we rented time by the half hour. And these were like athletes were coming in or conditioned individuals were coming in. They said, oh, a half hour is not long enough. Uh, you watch. Half hour was plenty of time. You were burnt.
Wow.
You were a half hour workout and a lot of most of our patients coming in, not the gym base, but most of our patients come in a half hour is plenty of time because you actually are doing that much more and the resistance that more. And it's not just working on walking or whatever, because when you're immersed in water and the fluid, it's your whole body is working. And that's what's so great. It's like your core has to work, your upper body has to work, your legs have to work. When you're doing it on land and you're doing a leg press or you're doing something with your arm, well, the rest of your body doesn't have to work.
Right.
But when you need water, your whole body has to
It
work.
has to work. Right.
So core is a big thing. We really notice that with people, their core, because core is base. If your core is strong, everything else is strong.
Right.
And so we've noticed that.
Yeah. You talked about that 100-year-old
Yeah.
patient, which is amazing. Seniors on a whole, do you find that I don't know if this is a freak situation or do you find that this can work for a lot of seniors, and is it safe?
Oh, they love it.
They love it.
They
Yeah.
love it. They absolutely. Now, interesting, when we first opened, we would have this is kind of funny. Husband and wife would come, and the wife, because women always do things first,
Right.
right? They're more adventurous. So they come in and we're, oh, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this.
Right.
And we got a huge media when we first opened, like all the TVs, the paper, we get a lot. So people come, I heard about you. I'm going to try this. So they would come in. And but 6 weeks later, they were like practically running out of the change room. Like, wow, this is amazing. And the smiles and everything. And then the husband, I said, do you want a book? Oh, no, I'm fine. And women were coming up and they're like, what am I missing? Like, they're like,
That is so true.
Is-
That actually happens so much at our clinics.
Yeah.
It's always the lady that comes in first,
Absolutely.
and then after her husband's like, all right, yeah, I guess I'm going to start.
And she's feeling so good. I gotta try it because for the longest time, and men's change room wasn't even being used. I'm like, geez, we might as well not even have it. But now we're pretty equal now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we don't just focus on the older populations. We also, like, our youngest was actually 6 months. So the pediatrics, and that is again the freedom of movement. If you're dealing with your spasticities, or if you're dealing with something else, like the kids who come in with the broken ankles from hockey, from soccer, from the rugby kids, or we've had actually amputee in the water as well. What else have we had? We've had so many. It's incredible stories. We've had the paras, the quads, everything.
Wow.
And
We're completely accessible.
yeah,
We have
and
full
also-
lift. We have an elevator, and then we have full lift into 2 of our pools. So, yeah, we're completely.
So let me ask you this. You're working with paraplegics, this, that, so many different groups of people, athletes, 6-month old, 100 years old. Is there any exercise that is limited based on, okay, we can do this on land, but we can't do this in water? Because I know there's so many different types of exercises, but I mean, I don't know because I don't do it.
When I'm hiring or in doing the initial hiring of the staff, of we have a four-step process for hiring, and one of the first things that I say to someone coming in is, what you do in water is only based on your creativity of what you know you can do on land. How creative are you? And
Gotcha.
when you look at that and you can say, well, you got a 25-pound weight on land, but we've got these really light looking foamy dumbbells, and people will go, well, that's nothing. And then we say, yeah, until you get in the water, and then you actually have to figure out how to move it. So there's all the force and exertion, the scientific pieces behind it. And then people start to realize some of the values. And if you can think about doing it on land, take it to the water. We talk about safety. We have to teach the safety component as well. And you asked the question before, and one of my running lines always with someone, if I'm doing a tour or with the staff, is, yeah, if they're going to fall over, the worst thing that could happen to them, their hair is going to get wet.
Right. Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
so fall prevention, that's where you start building that massive creativity into it. And they start realizing, I think I can do something here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I see that now. I am thoroughly convinced that you can pretty much help the majority of people that have injuries in the water. Here's my question to you. Do you see people for general fitness?
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's, before COVID, we had the gym, and we did have, general we'd athletes come in and run, but now we have referred to as kinesiologists who actually come in, and or athletic therapists who work with patients, and their clients individually
Mhm.
for conditioning, for health and conditioning. Yes. Yeah.
Whether it's cardiovascular, weight loss, general fitness, there might be training for an event. Again, it's something they just want to go and pick up their kids, their grandkids.
Right.
It's they just the low back pain, something else, and it's like, yeah, just make me stronger so I can do this.
Right.
And it's all goal based. What's the
Mm.
goal? What do they want to do?
What do you typically say to people when they're asking, when will I see progress?
I say 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That is because it typical. Now, if they're coming twice a week, so that's 4 times they've been in.
Uh-huh.
It depends on what it is. I mean, if they have inflammation, they will see it. They can see a difference. Now, we do have what they're with the treadmills. There's a hose, and it's a jet of water, and it actually is like if you think of a hot tub, and there's a jet that's coming up, but the actual hose, so it's a pressure that you can actually. It helps with. Uh, Dispersing the inflammation out of the area. So those ones in the swelling, yeah, out of that area. But we generally in about 2 weeks, they do start to see just the mobility, the ability, they're not as stiff. Yeah.
Right. How about equipment? Any special equipment that
We
they're in need?
that well, in our complex, we have underwater treadmills, underwater bikes. We have an 7 or 8 different just upper body
Mhm.
apparatus that we use that helps with training. We have rings, which is one of the interesting hanging from the ceiling. We have 2 sets of rings, gymnastic ring.
Wow.
So what is cool? So they're hanging here. That's the wall. So I'm pretty close to the wall, and you have somebody who it might be 57 or it might be 82. They're holding on to these rings and they're swinging. So the water's here. So my ball is in, and they're swinging and they're hitting off and they're swinging back and they're swinging.
Wow.
Just the ability to do that.
Right. The free. That's amazing.
So, I mean, there's a number of different pieces. Well, we have probably 50 to 60 pieces of
Well, it's right down to, you go to the dollar store and you buy a beach ball.
Right.
Well, believe it or not, we have beach ball dollar store things, and it
Wow.
being able to lift and push it down in the water. You go in swim noodles, noodles are everywhere now. And we wear through them, and I always have to have a stock over the winter time because the stores are out of stock because we run through with your swim noodles. Yeah. So it can be that simple. We even teach people, just go into your community pool and go walking, but adjust the depth of where you're walking as you're increasing or decreasing the buoyancy you want. So it gets down to the scientific part of it, but it's the teaching in, or if you can just go one at a time where you have to hold on to the wall. That's part of even what we do is teaching them other things so they can do it in the backyard pools. For the 4 months we have warm water in the pools, or they're going to the cottages. We actually did a segment on exercises you could do at your cottage on the side of the dock or on the beach,
Right.
that type of thing. So it's whatever you can think of.
Right.
That's what it is.
Karen, we started the interview and you told us about your leg that broke in 2008. And unfortunately, land therapy didn't cut it for you. I'm assuming you have quite a bit of potential patients that they actually have experienced the same thing that you've experienced. It might not be a broken leg, but they went to land therapy and it didn't work. What are you all telling those people in order for them to come in?
Actually, because we have quite a network of physicians now refer to us, if somebody is, we have actually other physical therapists clinics that refer to us. It's not working in their clinic. They refer. So we have a very good reputation that way. I think the most unnerving thing that happened to me is one of the patients came in, she said, I broke my leg, and she showed me, like now everything's on the phone.
Right.
She showed me it was identical break of what I had.
To what you had? Wow.
And I'm like, oh, and she was still in her crutches. And I said, look at me. And I was dancing. I said, don't worry, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay. Can I ask you a few more? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Just a
fire
few more.
away.
This has been great. So I was talking to you all earlier about the fact that hydrotherapy has become a little different here because in the States, we're not getting it covered in the way that it was via insurance. Now, I want to talk about what you all are kind of drumming up behind the scenes, okay? And that is helping people like recreate what you've done at Liquid Gyms here at my house, in my community. I have knee problems. Many people have injuries. We can't get to Ottawa. Okay. So you are creating a solution for us. So what, before that comes out, okay, what could I do now? If I wanted to go in the pool now and I have issues with my knee, I have issues with my lower body. What could I do right now?
Best thing, just go into the pool and walk. I'm not going to say swim or anything like that because I don't know what actually has happened to your knee, but just walking. And I used to do this. Before we opened Liquid Gym LG, we wanted to do test market. So we went down and bought an endless pool and we put it into our double car garage. We rebuilt the garage and it was a pool house. We made a pool house out of it. And patients would come in, clients would come in, and I didn't want to have them coming every day with me. So I would send them to the local pool.
Right.
And I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go nippy and sports putts, and I want you to walk. You're going to walk forward, then you're going to walk backwards, then you're going to walk sideways. You just got step by step by step by step.
Right.
And then, so that 20 minutes, you only do that, you would notice a huge difference just by doing that. As you get
forward, backward, sideways, left, sideways, right.
And if you dip, so if it's a knee, crossing over, that's fine. Longer steps, so you don't take strides. So it's going to become, I would show them what to do, and then they would do that. I said, I want you to do it 20 minutes. And I would have them do it in deeper water because that's what you want. There's more buoyancy, right? So water up to here, you have more, less gravity force. So you go as deep as you can. You're not going to go underwater, deep as you can. And then as you get stronger, you eliminate that because as you get into shallower water, there's more effort.
There's more effort, right? Gotcha.
Just doing 20, you want to do it 20 minutes 3 times a week, you'll see a difference in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
And we have progressions to all of this. And that's the one thing. So that's if you're doing normal strides, and Karen said long strides. Well, we do heel toes as well. We do, when we related to Michael Jackson's moonwalks.
Yeah, right.
So as soon as you start putting reality around, oh, if you had a dance, how would you do it with your dance movement?
Yes.
So what's your background, what's your interest? Just take that and put it in the water And that's the starting point. But then there's actual programs and progressions as well. And so part of it is how many pools have got stairs going into them now as stairs? Well, just take the first step and do one small step up.
Right.
Go up and do 2 steps and start building. And so part of the program down the road is also giving people here, this is how you want to watch yourself it. And so if somebody says, well, my arm just kind of flips and flops around when I do it. Well, figure out, well, can you take a towel? Can you take a rubber band? Can you take a noodle so that you slow the movement down? And so it's all these little tips and tricks and it's just showing it to them everywhere you go. And then there'll be the programs and progressions that come with that.
Do you all know the football team, the Dallas Cowboys?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So I went to gosh, what's the name of the place? But it's basically their training facility.
Okay.
And their training facility is not where the stadium is. But I was speaking in Plano, Texas, and that's where their training facility is. And the Dallas Cowboys are known to have they're the creme de la creme.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And they have the #1 training facility in all of America. So I got to take a tour.
Wow.
And you know what they had there?
A pool that has a floor that goes up and down.
Lots of,
Yeah.
a few of them. And so, as we've been talking about this over the last couple of days, I know this. I know that the premier athletic teams in the United States all have aquatics. They all have hydrotherapy in some capacity. This is what happens, okay? Athletes, whatever they do, active individuals follow,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And whatever active individuals do, that now becomes mainstream again. So I say that to you because it's my final question. Why? Why do you believe that these athletes are these programs, these massive training facilities of the creme de la creme have put such an emphasis back on hydro?
You actually answered that
Yeah.
because of the whole
Return to work. It's pro sports and semi-pro sports is driven by money. And if an athlete is injured and cannot be in sport, the athlete's not making money, the team's not making money, especially if they're the elite of the team. And whether it's the NHL, whether it's in the UK, it's the soccer teams, that athlete and that sport as a business are not making money. So they will spend the money to bring that person back as quickly as they possibly can to be back on the field. The fans are going to spend money, and away you go.
Well, even we were blown away when we were hearing about high schools that have these pools, underwater treadmill pools in high schools in the U.S. In Canada, you'd never see that.
Right.
And that was one of the things we did say when we're going to do this. We wanted it for the mainstream. We don't charge anymore. So, and that's part of our mission is to provide therapy for we don't call it the average person, but provide for the general public,
Right.
to provide this therapy.
We call it the weekend warrior.
Yeah.
Right?
Even the weekend warrior, and not even that, well, the weekend warrior, but definitely also just the person that has had a car accident,
Right.
and they can come to us and we're not charging. And that was something in our mission statement, our values is we did not put up, oh, we're going to charge $300. We are within the range of everybody else that charges physiotherapy. And that was what we wanted to do because I saw what was happening in the States when we came here, and I saw the elite were getting it,
Right.
but other people weren't getting it.
Right.
I thought, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. I really think that you all are creating a market disruptor. This is a market disruptor. Everybody wants it, but it's not available.
Yeah.
And if you can bring it in a very seamless, easy way, you don't have to jump through all these different hoops to get it. This is a massive market disruptor. So thank you. You all know your stuff. And I'm really excited about what you're bringing to the marketplace. So thank you. You did a really good job. I'll give you an A+ for doing our
thank you.
rapid fire value. So there you go. Awesome.
I think we talked a little too long for rapid fire for you.
No, it's okay. You did pretty good. All right. Awesome.